Hey, David Stewart here, back with more tips on how to play flamenco. Today we're going to be talking about the Soleares, and this will hopefully be the first in a rather in-depth series of how to play the Soleares before we move on to other forms. The Soleares is one of the four major forms of flamenco, and I talked about this in a previous video. The other three forms are seguidillas, tangos, and fandangos. Soleares is also important because it's a derivative, or it derives into other forms, rather. So the most famous of these is probably bulerías, which is a fast, zippy piece that almost every flamenco player and flamenco troupe incorporates as part of their repertoire. Soleares is another one that almost everybody will do because it's so classic and it influences so heavily all the other different forms. So today we're going to be looking at how to play the compás of the Soleares, and we'll talk a little bit about how the Soleares is arranged. Typically, the Soleares, the arrangement of it, that is how you construct the piece. It starts with an introduction, and we'll talk about how to compose or select an introduction in a later video. It will have iterations of the compás, which is the rhythm, and chords, the sort of central part of the piece that identifies it as the piece itself. And in between those iterations of the compás are different, what are called falsettas. A falsetta is a more melodic or a more technical display of your guitar playing. When you have a dancer, usually a dancer is doing like hand movements during a falsetta. But as a soloist, we usually arrange it, compás, falsetta until you get to the end, and we'll have a special intro on that. We'll also talk about the Soleares is special because it has a very special phrase ending. As you end each section, you do a very specific phrase ending. So we'll talk about all of that. Today we're going to talk about just the compás part. The compás is the most important thing that you need to know on any flamenco form. The compás is what identifies that form as itself. And the compás also provides the basis for all the construction of falsetta that you will be doing, and as well as the introductions and codas and any other part of the piece is all based on the compás. The Soleares compás is a little bit different than what you may be familiar with if you're from a Western background or you haven't done a lot of Spanish music. It has what's called a 12-beat in it. A Spanish 12-beat or a flamenco 12-beat. And a flamenco 12-beat is best described in a Western style of thought as a measure of 6/8 and a measure of 3/4 kind of side by side. So you're repeating 6/8, 3/4, 6/8, 3/4. And for those of you who aren't super knowledgeable on that, what it really is two sets of three notes where you're accenting the first of three notes, dot, 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 dot. Then a set of three duple notes, dot, 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 dot. So you have a 6/8 bar, 6/8 notes, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Then a 3/4 bar, 3/4 notes, and we divide them into eighth notes, 1 and 2 and 3. And so what it will end up sounding like is this. 1 and 2 and 3 and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, so forth. The seguidillas, which is another important form, has that same 12-beat, but we're starting on the 3/4 bar instead of on the 6/8 bar. So it's sort of reversed from how Soleares and bulerías and all the derivatives of Soleares really sound like. So, easy way to begin practicing this. Silence the strings, and we're just going to be playing with our Rasgueado flick. If you don't know how to do that, I have another video on specifically how to play that, as well as Rasgueado patterns. So you'll need to know both of those in order to appropriately interpret the Soleares. So you can start by feeling it, by hearing the pattern. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3. And we're going to do downstrokes, flicks on all those. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3. Once you have that feel down, then we can start to do the actual phrasing. Soleares is weird once you understand that 6/8 and 3/4 bar, and that it doesn't begin on the first beat of the 6/8 bar. It actually begins on the second beat. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Then from then on, the accent patterns will stay the same. But when you're counting the phrase, And a flamenco phrase is always 12 beats in the Soleares and the seguidillas. So it's always 12 counts of whatever you're playing in. And in Soleares, we'll usually notate it in a bunch of 3/4 bars with this particular accent pattern. So it'll still be 12 counts. You're going to count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Okay? Because of that arrangement, a lot of people have been led to believe that Bulerías and Soleares begins on 12. That it does not do. It does not begin on 12. You'll be confused if you ever choose to work with a dancer or attempt to do choreography with the Soleares or the Bulerías if you think that the phrase begins on 12. It begins on 1, and you just have to get used to those accent patterns being a little odd. One of the best ways to keep track of these, this 12-beat thing is to count. When you get to beat 12, you're going to do an upstroke. So you'll do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. 1, like that. Okay? Now, let's go ahead, and the other part of the compás, besides just the strict rhythm, is the addition of chords. Every different form in flamenco is going to have a set of chords that go with it. So Soleares uses E Phrygian as a tonality. Bulerías uses A Phrygian. So even though Soleares and Bulerías have the same 12 count, besides the fact they're also very different tempos, Soleares is quite a bit slower, the Bulerías will be in an A Phrygian rather than in an E Phrygian. And this is true even if you choose to use a capo to change the tonality, if you're working with a singer or something like that, or you just like the sound of maybe on the 3rd fret, something. If you just like the sound of that, it's the same thing. You want to think of it in E Phrygian. By the way, when I'm talking about Phrygian, I'm really talking about a Phrygian cadence. A Phrygian cadence is a descent in 2 major chords by a half step. In classical music circles, it's sometimes called a Phrygian half cadence, but we usually just think of it as a Phrygian cadence in flamenco. So the chord that you need to know to play this is E major. I'll do a follow-up video that'll have lots of different variations of this compás, but try practicing it first on E major with the 12 count. We're going to count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Next thing that we can do is we can add in the Raschiato patterns. The Raschiato patterns are usually going to occur on beats 7 and beat 9. Those are off. They're off the accents because we're playing a Raschiato into the off accents. It'd be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. 12. Okay, so once again, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Practice that right hand pattern. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay. Once you have that down, then we can start adding in all the other chords and doing all the other variations. Thank you so much for watching. More to come on the Soleares, including how to play all the different chords. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe if you want to have more access to more flamenco tips. I'll be, hopefully, as time goes on, get to do all the forms that people really want to know how to play. Soleares, Bulerías, which is ever popular, but probably one of the most difficult to interpret, as well as rumba, which everybody loves, Cuban rumba, and tangos, fandangos, Sevillanas, everything that people really want to do, including we may do some free forms as well. So you can also visit my websites, dbspress.com, davidvstewart.com, and keep up to date on what I'm doing outside of music, including my books and that sort of stuff. And have a great day and keep practicing.